Today is Wednesday, Parashat Mishpatim. The end of last week's parasha had to do with the construction of the Mizbeach, the altar in Bet HaMikdash. The altar where the sacrifices were brought, and it's very symbolically representing the service of prayer of the temple, and nowadays we have the synagogue that is instead of Bet HaMikdash. So it represents the service between us and Hashem. But the beginning of this week's parasha, Ve'ele Mishpatim asher tasim lifnehem, speaks about laws, about ordinances, speaks about civil and tort law. The law that has to do how you relate to others, how to be careful with the property of others, and the responsibility of any damages that you may cause to another person. So it has to do a lot with civil law. The end of last week's parasha had to do with the laws that have to do with building the Mizbeach, which is between you and Hashem. Why are these two subjects juxtaposed next to the other? Why are they right next to each other? Well, this is to teach us a very important message. The lesson is you cannot think that holiness and religion has to do only with how you pray or your place of prayer or the type of kosher food that you eat. Actually, religion and holiness in Judaism permeates and has to do with every aspect of life. Our sages say if you want to be a righteous person, if you want to be a devout, pious person, you must learn first the laws that have to do with how you relate to others, how you treat others in business or in your interpersonal relationships. How you treat others is as important, if not more important, of the laws of kosher food or the laws of prayers and the laws that have to do between you and Hashem. And you cannot separate the two. You cannot say, I'm going to observe only these and not the others. They're both intertwined. And by these two subjects being right next to each other, the end of last week's parasha dealing with the Mizbeach as representative of the temple, of the synagogue, of the mitzvot that have to do between you and Hashem, the beginning of this week's parasha even starts with the letter Vav, Ve'ele Mishpatim, and these are the laws, to connect the two, to tell us that you cannot separate and you cannot be a holy man by just observing the laws between you and Hashem and not being careful with how you relate to others. Both aspects are very important, and in some way how you relate to others may be in a way even more important than how you relate to Hashem. So you just have to pay attention to all the mitzvot of the Torah, and you cannot have a separation of the two. The parasha of this week has many, many mitzvot that have to do between you and your fellow man, and those are very, very important. And don't think that a religious person is just of how he prays and how he observes laws of kashrut or Shabbat. A true religious person, an observant man, is a man is as careful how he is honest his business, how he would be very careful not to cheat others, how he'd be very careful with the property of others, with the feeling of other people also, not to offend them, and how you relate to others is a very important part of being a religious person. And that's one of the messages of the parasha of this week. Baruch Adonai le'olam, amen ve'amen.